depend on adults for almost everything. For their food, being carried from one place to another, clothing. They're protected by adults and most of their thinking is done for them. As people grow up, however, they do more and more thinking for themselves. Not only do they want it that way, but parents want their children to do their own thinking. But thinking for yourself is a big responsibility. At first it might seem like a lot of fun, but when the consequences for a wrong decision become a part of the process too, it's not so easy. What do you base your decisions on? How can you know that your decisions will turn out for the best in the end? Let's watch a teenager struggle with one decision.
So how's Cheryl doing?
I think she'll be okay. The doctor took x-rays and there's nothing broken. She'll be back at school tomorrow.
That's good. I have a chance to work this summer if I want to.
Really? What kind of work?
Drugstore clerk.
You don't sound very excited about it.
Well, it's minimum wage and I have to work 5 days a week, plus all day Saturday.
Have you ever had a job before?
No.
Do you have to help pay room and board?
No.
Let's see, do you have to pay back money you borrowed from friends?
No.
Do you have to pay for school books and clothes?
Not really.
You don't have a license, so you don't have any car expenses, right?
Right.
So why are you so anxious to get a job?
Well, it's Crystal. She's never had a job before either, and now she's working 25 hours a week with excellent wages.
And so that's not fair. By the way, how did she get the job?
Her uncle owns the company.
Well, maybe you could do something that takes less time, like mowing lawns. You get paid by the job. Start your own business. I know mowing lawns is hard work. Maybe you could deliver flyers. That's only a couple of nights a week.
No thanks, I've done enough of that. I'm really sick of it.
Maybe what you're saying is that pushing buttons in a cash register behind a counter is easier, more secure, and it pays better, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Look, mowing lawns may not be great, but it's a start. Well, who knows? Maybe you can build up quite a business by next year.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Crystal is really tied down now. She dropped swimming and can't even do her homework hardly.
You know, I think you're at a time when you need some balance in your life. Well, you want your freedom because you know you'll be tied down to a job soon enough. On the other hand, you need some money and you could use some experience for the future.
Yeah, you know, I'm not really that jealous of Crystal anymore. She does need the money more than I do. Her father left the family a few years ago, and her mom barely gets in enough to make do. You know, I've really got it good. Money I own will only go for fun things.
Sometimes it helps to talk it over, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Scared and tattered by all of my problems, searching for answers, my heart's open wide. The choices we make, they fix our future. How can we know what's wrong or right? Talk to God, He's there to listen. Walk with Jesus, He'll show you the way. He'll show you the way. He'll show you the way.
We'll see more about decision making after this break. The Bible is full of the things we should be basing our decisions upon. That's because God made us, and He's the one who knows most about how we should act. If we follow His ways, things will work out for the best. A list of these basic truths is the 10 Commandments.
You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Honor your father and your mother. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house or anything that belongs to your neighbor.
Following the Ten Commandments, or anything in the Bible, is not always easy. Often it goes against the stream of what the rest of society is doing. Listen to this teacher mechanic talk about the decision about right and wrong he has to make in the work he does.
In my vocation, I work as a teacher of industrial arts, grades 9, 10, and 11, and also Christian ethics in grade 10. The main text that we use in our course is, of course, the New Testament and the Bible. In our studies, too, we recognize that there must be boundaries to certain areas of our conduct in our lives. In my Christian ethics class, at the beginning of the year, I have an assignment, and I handed it out again this year. And the assignment on it is relate an event in your life, either good or bad, where you perceive that God was working. Over 50% of the people that handed in an event to me, it's a one-page kind of assignment, recalled some kind of a death or accident in their life experience. One of the girls related something that she did that she didn't know if she should have done when she was smaller, that really bugged her. And that was, they went to visit a family in Estevan, and the boy who lived on the farm climbed up this tree and brought down this little bird and showed it to the girl, and she just loved animals, all kinds of animals. So she took this animal and hid it in her hand, and then wouldn't show her mother, but took it home. And so they got all the way home, and she was holding this bird in her hand in the back seat in the car. Got all the way home, and then she took it to her room, and then she started to feel guilty about it. So she came downstairs, and she started crying, and then she opened her hands, and here this little bird was sitting in there. And her mother said, "You'll have to take that bird into the backyard and let it go." And then for months and months after that, she had a tremendous guilt feeling inside her that possibly this little bird died because it didn't have its mother available to it. And then in the same assignment that she had reiterated all of this and remembered all of this, then she remembered the part in Matthew chapter 5 and 6 where God is taking care of sparrows. And so she started to get a confidence back that, sure, she had released this bird in the backyard, but then God just as well could take care of it. And so that started to make her feel better about what she had done. And then also in Psalms, in Isaiah too, she quoted some passages where God was able to wash people whiter than snow, and their sins were forgiven. So that guilt that she had built up inside herself was kind of vanishing because of Scripture, and she actually quoted these in her assignment. It was really, really good. One day during the class, I noticed that there was a message written on the chalkboard that was rather obscene. I waited until the end of the class and didn't tell the students anything about it or my reaction to it, and allowed them to go home. And then the next day when they came to class, knowing that that particular class had been responsible, I gathered them around me and I asked them who had done that. And there wasn't any response, so I asked the second time if the person who had done it would admit it. And then I stopped talking. And we stood there in the semicircle, all of us standing, looking at each other for 55 minutes. I didn't say anything. I just kept looking into each one's face, and they kept looking at me and at each other and wondering how long this would take. After 55 minutes, I said to the students, "All right, you haven't told me who did this, and I'm going to find out. So what I'll do is I'll go out of the classroom, and you discuss it amongst yourselves, and then when you're ready to do something about it, you call me back in." I was standing outside the classroom maybe a minute or two, and one of the students then came back outside and called me back in. And she said, "Mr. Fast, we're ready now to tell you." So I walked back into the room, and the one student that had done it apologized to me and to the rest of the class, and I told her, "You know, you're a very brave person to do this in front of the other students, to apologize in front of the other students, and I thank you very much for apologizing, and I accept your apology." And I think it was a very good ending to a long hour. In my property in the back, I have a garage that is kind of small, and it started out, I guess, in 1974, 75, as a few friends would ask me sometimes if I could change their spark plugs or do a tune-up for them. And either I have gotten more friends, or else there are more of my friends that have cars that know that I work on them. And my son works with me a little bit in that. I think it's kind of a nice thing. Otherwise, I don't know if we'd have anything for him to do here at the house, because in the city there are not really all that terrible many chores that you can get somebody to do. And one thing with the garage business that I have found myself is there is tremendous opportunity for being dishonest. And it's a strange thing. You know, the person leaves you their car, and many times while I'm working on a person's car, the thought comes through my mind, you know, you wouldn't really have to do this, and you could say you did. Or else you could fix this only this good and say you had fixed it entirely. There are many, many opportunities. I had never believed that it would ever come as a temptation. When I look at different students in the school, I can see that some students get their values from other students, but very, very many of them have in mind the training and the discipline they're getting from their parents. And so I think it's very important that parents are the value setters in the family.
We'll be back after this break. We feel tension when someone shows their anger or even hate. The easiest thing to do is fight fire with fire. Fight anger and hate by becoming angry and hateful in return. But that only doubles the amount of hostility in the air. This is a time to depend instead on the teachings of the Bible, the things that Jesus taught. Fight hate and anger with kindness, the way our private eye does in this scene. It's hard to live by something you don't believe in. If you want to do what God says you should, then you have to have faith that what He says is right. You have to trust Him. It's easier to trust a good person when you've gotten to know Him. We get to know God by accepting His Son, Jesus, into our lives and living by His direction. How can you believe in someone you can't see? It's something like using a swing or riding a bicycle.
Faith. What is it? An important part of living. Faith is around you every day. Riding a bicycle, a swing, climbing a tree. They all tell us something about faith. A swing is for flying. Maybe you've never thought about it, but you put faith in people when you swing in the park. You don't see kids checking out every link ahead of time to see if it's safe. And of course your friend will hold you up. Faith is something like being on a swing, but there's a little more to it than that. When you get as high as the swing can go, all you can do is go back and forth. And faith is more than just going back and forth. A tree is for getting to the top, if the branch will hold you. There goes your friend. It must be safe. You see, it's a little easier to have faith in a branch if there's some evidence to go with it. But to get there, you have to take a risk. You don't just stand there on the ground wondering what it's like. You do it. You climb. Faith is something like climbing a tree, but when the branch ends, that's all there is. We can learn a lot about faith riding a bicycle. A bike is for moving. You need a lot of trust. You trust in the performance of your bike, the gears, the tires, the brakes. You trust the guys you're riding with, and you trust the road you're on. And it takes some skill, too. Incredible. Those two skinny wheels can keep you up. Exactly how they do it, that's a mystery. Faith in God is a mystery, too. There's a force at work greater than ourselves. And if we trust God, it's beautiful. He'll carry us right along.
Trusting is risky, but when it works out, it's beautiful. We'll be back. One of the differences between people who wear these and the people who wear these is that these people have been learning to think for themselves. Hopefully, they have accepted good values, the ones God intended, to base their thinking on. We can always come to God and ask Him for the wisdom to choose the right values. He loves to fill our lives with Himself when we ask Him to come in. And we can read about this in the Bible.
Hi, we'd like to send you our third story survival kit. In it, you'll find a colorful poster, a book from the Bible, some cards to send to your friends, and a cartoon book. When you write to us, send your letter to The Third Story, Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba. That's Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba. And remember, the survival kit is free of charge. We hope to hear from you real soon.
You and I are special, and we've got our special names. You and I are different, but we feel things much the same. You and I have moments moments we say life's a lousy game, and moments seem like hours when all you feel is pain. Help us helping each other, help us healing us, Lord. Help us love one another, help us say the right word. Give us strength for each other, give us strength for the load that we carry together along life's road. You and I get bruises and we get our broken bones. You and I get beaten trying to beat our broken homes. You and I have failures and so often we're afraid. Get put down and frustrated, just want to run away. Help us helping each other, help us healing us, Lord. Help us love one another, help us say the right word. Give us strength for each other, give us strength for the load that we carry together along life's road. You and I get bitter when we only want the sweet. You and I are losers when we start to love defeat. You and I are cop-outs when we blame it all on God, whose loving will and purpose is greater than our thoughts. Help us helping each other, help us healing us, Lord. Help us love one another, help us say the right word. Give us strength for each other, give us strength for the load that we carry together along life's road.